I opened my dream restaurant on Christmas weekend. Warm lights, fresh rosemary in the air. Every table set for the people I trusted most. My whole family was invited. Not one of them showed up. They all went to my brother's promotion party instead. A backyard barbecue, plastic chairs, lukewarm beer, and an Instagram story saying to bigger things, with every face I loved smiling in the background. I stood alone in a beautiful dining room folding napkins. No one touched the playlist I had made from childhood memories. It kept looping to empty walls. Then Dad texted, "We need to discuss the restaurant." I'm Sarah Bennett. I'm 32. And this was the night everything changed. They didn't forget me. They chose to leave. Before we start, tell me where you're watching from, city, state, or country, and one detail about your setup. Couch, night shift break, cooking dinner, etc. Echoes of Life is listening. The kitchen still carried that Christmas rosemary in the air. Warm lights glowed over empty tables like they were waiting for someone who had already chosen not to come. The handwritten menus sat untouched. The playlist kept looping carols I had picked from childhood memories. Not one family member walked through my door. Then Dad's text landed. "We need to discuss the restaurant." No apology, no explanation, just entitlement dressed as concern. I knew exactly what he wanted. The family discount, the shared tab, the belief that my success belonged to everyone but me. 20 minutes later, a knock hit the back door. Hard. Too familiar. I opened it. Ethan stood there in a tailored coat, Christmas lights blinking behind him. He held a plastic box of leftover cake from the party they had chosen over me. "Figured you'd want a slice," he said, trying to joke, trying to shrink the damage. I stepped outside, letting the cold hit first. "You skipped my opening, Ethan. You didn't even text." He looked down. Dad said it was just a soft launch. Soft launch. On Christmas night, the biggest moment of my life. He waited for forgiveness. But the ovens behind me had already cooled, and so had my patience. If you've ever been dismissed like your work didn't matter, you're going to want to stay for part 3. The next morning, I arrived at the restaurant early. The air was cold enough to bite, but the kitchen felt warm. Alive. Mine. I pinned my apron, tied my hair back, and stood at the door, staring at the sign I'd taped up the night before. Reservations only. No walk-ins. Even if we shared DNA. It didn't feel petty anymore. It felt necessary. Around 9:30 a.m., a couple stopped to read the sign. Tourists in matching scarves, whispering like the place was a secret. I opened the door before they could knock. "Are you Sarah?" the woman asked. I nodded. "We drove an hour to be here," she said. "Anyone brave enough to write that sign is someone we want to support." Her words hit deeper than she knew. For years, I had begged my family to notice. This stranger saw me in one sentence. On the first quiet morning of Christmas week, validation finally came from outside my bloodline. I seated them, brought water, set down warm bread. My hands still shook a little, not from fear, but from finally choosing myself. More people followed. Locals, travelers, 2 college kids who'd seen the post on TikTok, an older man who said, "I ate alone for years. Tonight, I wanted to sit somewhere that understands lonely." Every table filled because people showed up by choice. Not obligation, not guilt, not tradition. Between orders, I caught my reflection in the front window. I didn't look bitter. I looked steady, like someone who had stopped begging for a seat. Then around noon, Dad's SUV slowed in front of the restaurant. He didn't park, didn't look inside, just kept rolling past the windows, hands clenched on the wheel like it might steer the story back. It didn't. Old me would have folded under that. Started apologizing in my head, wondering what I'd done wrong. This version just watched him drive away and went back to plating food. When lunch ended, I wiped the tables and stacked plates. The room hummed with soft music and the last trace of garlic. For once, the quiet felt kind. My phone buzzed on the counter. "Mom, we need to talk. You're being dramatic." I placed the phone face down because for the first time I wasn't chasing their approval. I wasn't running from their disappointment either. I was standing still, letting them be the ones who had to move. If this were your family, the ones who skipped your biggest night, then demanded access anyway, what would you do? Comment 1 if you'd keep the peace quietly. Comment 2 if you'd hold the line, even if they call it dramatic. Echoes of Life. The first sign hit at 6:12 p.m. A 1-star Yelp review. Then another, then 6, all within 40 minutes. Cold food. Rude staff. Owner glared at us. Except none of those names were in my reservation book. Except we never served cold food. Except I hadn't even had a rude customer that night. The pattern was unmistakable. This wasn't feedback. This was coordinated, manufactured, personal. Ethan's message from 2 nights ago echoed in my head. They're planning something. Be careful. I didn't pace, didn't panic, didn't cry. I sat at the prep counter, opened my laptop and downloaded every receipt, timestamp and camera clip. Every piece of evidence showing those people had never stepped foot in my restaurant. Then I called my lawyer. Then I messaged a journalist who once wrote, "Sarah cooks like someone telling the truth." She answered in under a minute. "Send everything." I did. While the article was being prepared, I finished dinner service like nothing had happened, smiled at customers, refilled water glasses, folded napkins, steadied myself. At 10:47 p.m. the article went live. Beneath the apron strings. How a rising chef is fighting back against family sabotage. Screenshots. Voice messages. Timestamps. The truth. By midnight my reservation list jumped to 6 weeks out. Comments poured in. This is why people cut off family. She's not dramatic. She's done. Boundaries taste better than betrayal. While the internet lit up, my phone vibrated itself across the counter. Mom, Dad, Ethan, unknown numbers, blocked numbers. Everyone trying to regain control of a story they never expected to lose. I didn't pick up. Instead, I cleaned the kitchen slowly, letting the calm settle into my bones. Garlic on the cutting board, rosemary in the sink, the soft hum of the fridge. Everything felt centered, like the room finally respected me because I finally respected myself. Then, at 12:32 a.m., someone knocked on the back door, soft, tentative. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened it just enough to see a face I didn't expect. Nicole, Ethan's fiancée, eyes red, hands shaking. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Not until tonight. There's something you need to see." She held out her phone. And on the screen was the group chat that would change everything. Project Reset. My family's private plan to destroy my restaurant and bring Sarah back down to size. I didn't speak, didn't blink. Nicole swallowed hard. "I'm done with them. And I'm done pretending this is normal." She placed the phone gently on the counter. "You deserve to win, Sarah. I'm here to help you burn the whole thing down." Nicole sat across from me in the last booth. Hands wrapped around a mug she never drank from. "They made a group chat," she said quietly. "Your mom, Ethan, Aunt Lisa, even cousin Ryan. They called it Project Reset." I didn't react, I'd learned not to. Nicole unlocked her phone and slid it over. Screenshots, voice notes, plans, all aimed at one thing. Forcing me to fail or give up the restaurant, make me beg to come back, cut my supplier discounts, leave a few more bad reviews. She needs to be humble. She needs to remember who the family center is. My name typed like a problem. My success treated like an infection that I scrolled silently. Nicole wiped her cheek. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know he was capable of this." I finally looked up. "Why show me?" She took a shaky breath. "Because I'm not marrying into a family that destroys its own. And because you're not crazy, Sarah. They really did this." She stood to leave, then paused. "If you want to go public, you have my blessing." When she walked out, she left the door cracked. It felt like she'd opened a new one for me. At 9:12 a.m. the next morning, the headlines exploded. Chef Sarah Bennett's family caught sabotaging her career, group chat leaks confirm malicious intent. I hadn't spoken to any reporter. Nicole posted the screenshots herself with a single caption. "I refuse to be part of this." The flood came instantly. Hashtag Stand with Sarah. Cut off cruelty. Public support poured in from old friends, people from Portland, even strangers who saw themselves in my story. By noon, my reservation list stretched to 2 months out. At 2 p.m., my landlord called to extend my lease 5 years and lock my rent rate. At 3:17 p.m., Ethan texted, "I didn't know Mom saved that stuff. I'm sorry. I deleted it." No anger, no thrill, just clarity. At 5 p.m., a woman in a navy blazer walked in. Press badge clipped to her pocket. "I'm from Food and Wine," she said. "We're doing a feature, 10 chefs who survived the fire. We want you for the cover." The cover? Me? My throat tightened but my voice stayed steady. Then let's feed them something worth remembering, I said. That night, after the last dish left the pass, I stood barefoot in the quiet dining room, wine glass in hand, flowers still on my sleeves. The air felt clean again. This wasn't the life my family planned for me. It was the life I built. Plate by plate, boundary by boundary. They tried to starve my future. Instead, they became the reason I never cook for their approval again. The invitation arrived 1 year later. Gold foil, heavy cardstock, scripted letters that pretended history didn't exist. You are cordially invited to Ethan and Marlene's wedding brunch. I laughed out loud. A soft, tired laugh from someone finally done explaining herself. They wanted a photo op. A clean family picture. A pretty caption to bury their mess. I placed the invitation in the blender and pressed shred. Confetti of old expectations. Then I opened my laptop and finalized the contract for my second location. Sarah's table, downtown Denver. Brick walls, rooftop garden. A kitchen twice the size and none of the ghosts. My staff gathered behind me that morning. People who believed before they benefited, people who showed up. A journalist stepped forward, mic raised. "What would you say to your family now?" she asked. I tightened my apron, smiled small and steady. "Nothing," I said. Some stories aren't owed an explanation. The ribbon fell. The crowd cheered. My team hugged each other like we'd survived a storm and built a harbor from the wreckage. Later that evening I stood in my new kitchen, barefoot on warm tile, stirring a pot of lemon broth. A woman walked in quietly, hands shaking as she held a napkin. "My daughter wants to be a chef," she said. "She read your story. She thinks she'll never be enough." I handed her a menu, warm, simple, honest. "Tell her this," I said. They said the same to me. The woman left smiling. The dining room glowed soft behind her. It felt like healing disguised as light. For the first time, my life wasn't about who didn't show up. It was about who walked in. They burned a bridge. I built a future. And I'll never trade that silence for their approval again. If this resonated, please like the video, share it with someone exhausted, and subscribe to Echoes of Life for the next story.